This is a courtesy of a reenactment that happened in Paxton, Massachusetts on June 5th through the 7th, celebrating the 150th anniversary of the conclusion of the Civil War. The Civil War consisted of 10,500 battles, engagements, and other military actions, including nearly 50 battles and about 100 others that had major significance. The remainder were scrimmages like this one. Robert E. Lee was a Confederate general during the Civil War, and Ulysses S. Grant was the Union general. The Civil War was the most catastrophic event in American history. The Union had approximately 2 million soldiers, and Confederates had 1 million, and there was more than 600,000 casualties. The war began after Lincoln became president in 1861. He was morally against slavery, and the South threatened to secede if a Republican was elected. South Carolina made good on their threat and seceded from the Union shortly after Lincoln was elected. 6 other states followed. Together they established a new government called the Confederate States of America. In April 1861, Confederate soldiers attacked Fort Sumter in the harbor of South Carolina. Thus the war began. Both sides believed that the war...
There was a local bootmaker in town who, when you went in, he would measure your foot, just like they do now, and then he would make a pattern out of wood and put it on the wall, and then when you needed a pair of shoes, he would take it down and make you a pair of shoes. And you
Or would end quickly. After the First Battle of Bull Run in 1861 and the Battle of Shiloh in 1862, both beliefs soon vanished. President Lincoln pushed the limits of the Constitution several times during the war, believing that desperate times called for desperate measures. Congress also passed a series of new laws such as the Moral Tariff, Legal Tender Act, and the National Bank Act. After the Union victory at the Battle of Antietam, Lincoln issued his Emancipation Proclamation, which freed all the slaves in the sectionist South. The battles of Gettysburg and Vicksburg in 1863 were major turning points in the war. Union troops crushed Lee's forces at Gettysburg, and General Grant's victory at Vicksburg gave control of the Mississippi to the Union.
Good day, folks. How are you today?
Good morning, how are you?
Morning. I am capital. How about yourself, sir?
Not so bad, how are you?
Very well. From the north, so the South felt they had no say in the government anymore.
That's why Booth went after him.
War dragged on into its
He
fourth
was
year.
one of the most
Many
well-known
Northerners wanted
actors of his
peace.
time.
They wanted to negotiate
To
a
put it in
settlement
modern
with the South.
perspective, it'd be like
They were
if-
called the Peace Democrats. They nominated George McClellan to run against Lincoln in 1864, but Lincoln campaigned hard to keep the war going until the South surrendered unconditionally. Lincoln won. Confederate President Davis requested peace negotiations as a final attempt to save the Confederacy, but Lincoln refused. Davis was unwilling to accept anything less than full independence. A month later, retreating Confederates burned Richmond to prevent Union troops from taking it, but Grant cornered the suffering troops, and Lee unconditionally surrendered on April 9, 1865, and ended the war.
By definition, he cannot be out of step.
I don't know. First decorated graves. This repeated ritual was called Decoration Day, which is now known as Memorial Day. War was the first war to be reported by the press.
Okay. Ready? On the one.
The Civil War, the United States and the Confederacy instituted the first ever national income tax. American soldiers were allowed to join the Union Army in 1863. Whitman was a nurse in the Civil War.
Water and lemonade, made by Miss Madison. It is Newton somewhere.
Stonewall Jackson got his nickname during the Battle of Bull Run. During the battle, his men noted he stood like a stone wall. Civil War lasted 48 months. The 13th Amendment consists of 48 words. Rifles were the deadliest weapon. Disease killed more men. Operation performed on soldiers was amputation.
28, withdraw! I can see the bullet from it's possible.
Carpetbagger was used by Southerners about Northerners who moved to the South during Reconstruction.
One Confederate jump. One.
Fire! By platoon!
There was major battles going on. There was a major army a mile away. They didn't know anything was happening.
Halt! Reform on my right!
Take arms. Shoulder, arms. 1, 2, unfix, bayonet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shoulder, arms. 1, 2, 3. Prepare to break ranks. Right, face. 1, arms, port. 1, break ranks. March.
Was a significant event in world history because the North's victory proved that democracy worked. Even Lincoln himself recognized it. In his Gettysburg Address, he argued that the Civil War was a test for democracy, and the outcome of the war would determine the fate of representative government for the entire world. We here highly resolve that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.